through one of my friend was working in Intel, and I asked him to give me a referral,
Mm.
and he gave me a referral for Intel, and I was not hopeful about Intel because
Yeah.
I have zero experience. Who would give me a job?
Right. And that to TPM,
That to
which you're
TPM,
changing
right?
from.
So
Yeah.
I was really nervous before
Yeah.
interview, and I was like,
Right.
so I got the first call, and for me, Intel is one company which is so easy in taking interviews. They'll make you so familiarized, so
Mm.
comfortable in that interview that it will not feel like an interview. So
Mm.
coming to TPM, so I took some material from project management.
Mm.
Basically, I started studying the terms in project management, the Six Sigma and the rules. Whoever has done
Yeah.
project management would know there's a course called, you have to do a certification called as PMP and
PMP, CPAPM. Yeah.
CPMP. So
Hmm.
that is something good. If you really want to start, you can start from there. So I
Yeah.
took a course online and I started studying simultaneously while I was searching for internships. I had some knowledge from that. The
Mm.
other thing is I worked in a hardware industry, so I knew a little terms in hardware too.
Mm. Okay. So that
So
helped in your Intel.
that helped in my interview. So
Okay.
so when I started when I got the interview call, so it was the manager, it was a hiring manager
Mm.
who mailed me that there's a you, since you have we can schedule a first call for us so that we can know you better,
Mm.
and then there'll be simultaneously two more interviews after that. So I was like, okay. So the first round was with the hiring manager,
Mm.
and so it was very easy. He would just tell us about the company. He will tell you about what they do, what team they work in. Suppose I work in MIO, memory and IO team in Intel, so we
Yeah.
deal with all these DDR5, DDR4 and memories like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me about what they do, what their group does, and then
Yeah.
he made me comfortable about everything, and then he asked me how was my day, and I really like that kind of interview because
It
that
was very personal. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
Intel is one company which has actually the interview. I have enjoyed the interview thoroughly.
Mm.
So there were some behavioral questions,
Mm.
very little. So in the if you go for specially management role, behavioral questions are
Yeah.
your
They're
forte.
gonna. Yeah.
You
Right.
should focus on that more than
Mhm.
technical. I think.
And again, in behavior also, there's like, they're gonna try to test your communication skills, like
Definitely
stakeholder management skills. So it's still behavior, but then there are like sections like, okay,
sections
if
they
you
would judge
missed
you
a
on. Yeah.
deadline, how are you gonna tell your, stakeholders that you missed a deadline? If there's a big risk, how are you gonna communicate that risk to the stakeholders? So again, that's where they are testing your combination of knowledge, where how you communicate, how you manage the stakeholders, how you mitigate the risk, etc. So yeah.
I think, yeah, that's perfectly right that you said that this is all that they ask. The
Hmm.
second thing that I would say that you always read about the company before going in an interview. You
Yeah.
always read about the company. They have certain qualities, like Intel has one Intel.
Oh, values. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The values are important for them because
Right.
they judge you on your behavioral based on those values. So
Hmm.
I think you should just go through the company really well before.
And I'll tell you the secret as well. Like, so a lot of companies will have this values. So Amazon has this 14 principles. Twitter has this like 6 values they go by. Google has certain values, right? So, and they have this metrics, like the interviewers, they have this metrics, and where they have to say whether they fit in that value or not when they ask the question. And if you do, then that's where you get the points. And that's how they proceed you and say like, okay, you scored 35 points based on your answers. So yes, it's very important for you to understand the values and principles of the companies.
Yeah, and you should have a good idea about what that company does,
Yeah.
what is the job. So you should definitely read one thing, last moment tips. If you really want to go for an interview, read the job description very carefully,
Mm.
and only whenever you're applying to a certain company, please apply only on that job description. If that job description has what you do, you take certain points from that. Think
Mm.
how does it relate to your resume, and then speak about them,
Yeah.
because ultimately they're looking for somebody who can help them out, who can solve the job for them.
Yeah.
So So I guess so. So my first round was after these behavioral questions. He told me to tell my experience, and I walked him through my whole experience. I would advise that try making an interview like a conversation. Most of us just answer,
Right.
and then we just answer for the next question.
Yeah.
If you can ease the interviewer and yourself, especially in management roles, I think half the battle you've won there. You need to make it a conversation more than an interview.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So I think we talked about my career graph, why I thought of applying in Intel. He told me about the position, and then that was my first round. That was with my hiring manager. And the same day, I got two interview invites. One from my mentor, who's actually mentoring me right now, and one from another person from the same team.
Nice.
So after this interview, the next day I gave the interview to my mentor, my buddy right now. So basically, he asked me similar questions: behavioral, then technical, a little technical questions, then my experience. And as I told it was more like a conversation.
Yeah.
And then there was a third round. So they were testing me on every skill. So there was a marketing person who would test me on the marketing skills. There'll be a person from the program management office. They will test me on the project management or program management skill. Then there'll be a HR who will test you on a behavioral skill.
Yeah.
So this is how this happened. So I had these 3 interviews, and after these 3 interviews in the last one, so interesting thing was my university deadline to submit any application was in 5 days. So I literally had to request Intel
for your CPT.
For my CPT to process this as soon as possible, and I was so happy. They just told me on the spot within, like, after that last interview in 3 hours, they just sent me an email saying that we would like to offer you a position in Intel as a technical program manager intern. Also, they ask you questions about your university, what your university allows. Certain time they want to be really sure that your university allow what position they're offering to you. For example, my college, IIT, offers 40 hours in co-op also.
Yeah.
But most of the colleges just offer 20 hours in co-op and 40 hours only in summer internship. So you have to work 40 hours in the break. And then if you take a subject, then you can only work 20 hours in.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So for me, my university allow 40 hours. The only rule is that you have to have good academic standing, and you need to be a good performer, and they allow it for 11 months. So
okay, so this is interesting. So you are doing 11 months of CPT co-op, and while you're doing that, you're also taking subjects from your universities.
Yes, I have to complete 2 more semesters. I mean, I just completed my second, so now it's going to be my third, and then I'll be in my fourth.
Nice. And this is but this is while you are doing your full-time job.
Yeah, this is while I have to do my full-time
That
job.
is impressive. That is very impressive.